अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्यति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरतुसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। So we welcome everyone for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, second chapter and verse number 15. Yesterday we started this verse. Yam hina vidhiyantete purusham purusharshava samadukha sukham dhiram samritvaya kalpate. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So Amritvaya Kalpate. Amritvaya means for liberation, and Amrit means like nectar. So for a devotee, the real liberation, real nectar is to get associated with the Supreme Lord Krishna. That is real liberation, the real form of liberation, and real nectar in his life. So, but who is eligible to taste that nectar? Nectar of Krishna consciousness can be released or tasted by a person who becomes free from the effect or influence of dualities of material existence. The dualities of material existence finally culminate into happiness and distress, or material pains and pleasures. So material happiness and material distress, suffering, pains and pleasures are the two duality of this material existence. So one who is affected by or influenced by these two kinds of material dualities cannot be eligible for real nectar, Amrit, nectar of Krishna consciousness. So for a person who is too much absorbed or who is too much influenced by these dualities, that means happiness and distress, one who is hankering after material sense gratification in order to get some material enjoyment, she is also influenced, and one who is suffering, who gets distress in this material existence, who becomes very perplexed or disturbed because of material pains. So these both kind of situations are actually one and the same. And in this situation, a person cannot actually release the real form of Krishna consciousness. For such a person, Krishna is a black and white picture, and Maya is colorful. So when Maya appears to be colorful, then Krishna becomes black and white. But for a devotee of Krishna, when Maya becomes black and white, because he can see clearly what exactly is the functioning of this material existence. So she can actually see Krishna in a very colorful form, and he can experience the nectar of Krishna consciousness. That is Amritvaya Kalpate. Then he becomes eligible for liberation. And real liberation for a devotee is not to get uh, freedom from this material existence, material body. That is also a kind of liberation, but that is external liberation. For a devotee, liberation means to get liberated from the misconception of material existence, to get liberated, to become unaffected by material dualities, happiness and pains and pleasures of material existence, and to become situated in the loving service of the Supreme Lord. When one gets absorbed in thinking about the Supreme Lord, Krishna, in thinking about His holy name, His wonderful, most enchanting, charming, beautiful form as Shyam Sundar, and in thinking about His various transcendental qualities and His pastimes. That is the stage of perfect liberation. And that has been explained by Sri Narad Muni in Bhagavatam. Mukti hitvanyatha rupam swarupe navasthiti. Mukti hitva anyatha rupam. All other rupam, all other form, when one gives up his identification with material body. And swarupena avasthiti. When one becomes situated in his original swarupa. Swarupa means his own rupa, his own form. That is Sarupena Avasthita. And what is our Sarupa? To get attracted towards the loving towards the service of the Supreme Lord. That is our real Sarupa. That is our real form. That is our real identity in our existence, is to become eternal servant of the Supreme Lord and to get attracted towards Him. That is our real Sarupa. So when one is situated in that platform, in that form, then he is actually liberated, mukta. So even while living within this body, one can be liberated. Jivan mukta sa uchyate. And what is the symptom of such kind of person? Iha yasya harer dasya karmana mansa gira nikhilasu api avasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. Iha means even while living in this material world, iha means in this, iha means in this world, in this material world. Yasya, whose, yasya means whose, Harer Dasya, in the service of the Supreme Lord Hari, Harer Dasya, Karmana, all his activities are performed by material senses, body, mind, and intelligence. Those three. So, Karmana, Manasa, mind, and Gira means words, whatever he speaks, whatever he thinks or desires, and whatever actions he performs. If it is dedicated for the service of the Supreme Lord, then such kind of person is known as Jivan Mukta Sauchyate. While living in this life also, he is known as a perfectly liberated person. But in order to achieve that situation, one has to become samadukha sukham dhiram. Dhiram. Only a person who is dhira uh, can become some or equal, can be established in equilibrium with regards to material dukkha and sukha, material happiness and distress. And such kind of person is actually liberated. So, sa amritvaya kalpate. He is eligible for this complete form of liberation. So that is why one has to become adhira. Adhira. Generally in this material world, all the conditioned souls, they are adhira. Adhira means not dhira, not sober. What is the symptom of adhira? One who is impatient. So what is the symptom of such a person? That the symptom is that he becomes easily agitated when the opportunities for sense gratification are there, or when there is some kind of disturbances is there. In both the condition, when one becomes agitated, that is adhira. Or in crude language, it can be said when one becomes perturbed or disturbed because of the presence of either opportunity for sense gratification or because of the presence of material pains, then he is adhira. Whereas the symptom of a person who is sober or dhira has been explained in Bhagavatam. that even in the situation, in the agitating situation also, when one is not agitated, then he is known as Dhira. So how one can become Dhira, that has already been explained in verse number 13 and 14. But in this particular verse 15, Krishna is explaining uh, that such kind of Dhira person, such kind of person who is sober or Dhira, who is not agitated even when the opportunities for agitation is there, she becomes eligible for complete liberation. And how to reach to this platform of Dhira? The very first step uh, to become Dhira or sober is that one must be firmly convinced of this very fact that I am not this body. This is the very fundamental basics, or this is the most important aspect of becoming Dhira. That's what Krishna explained in verse number 13. Dehino asmini yatha dehi, kamaram yovanam jara, tatha dehantar prapti dhiras tatra namyajati. So one who is actually Dhira, he knows that I have nothing to do with the changes of this material body. This material body keeps changing, but I am not changing. So why should I unnecessarily get affected? Just like suppose if you are sitting in a vehicle, suppose you are sitting in the auto rickshaw. So you are sitting inside and you are moving ahead the auto, especially if you are unfortunate enough to be in auto rickshaw in Mumbai, city like Mumbai, then you can experience this. So you are sitting within the auto. So nobody is harming you. You are sitting peacefully. But because of other rickshaws, they come, they give horn, or they sometimes, in whatever fashion they drive their vehicle. So the person who is sitting inside, he becomes disturbed. He becomes agitated. And we find this that the drivers, they unnecessarily just give horns. Unnecessary. There is no need. And the passenger who is sitting behind, he also becomes agitated. But actually, nothing is happening to us. So one who is Dhira, he does not get affected because of this. He knows what to do. So that's why a devotee, the same devotee who is sitting within the auto, because he's just chanting Hare Krishna, doesn't matter. Hare Krishna, he's absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna. So it does not matter for him because he understands nobody is going to harm me. So why should unnecessarily I become agitated? Similarly, this is just an example to understand, illustrate this point. So if we can understand that I'm sitting within the vehicle of this body. This body is also vehicle. So suppose sometimes this body becomes sick. So that does not make any difference for a devotee. Of course, the devotee gets affected externally. He will be affected. He has to take the treatment. He will be taking the medicines, and he will be taking the rest also. All these things may go on, but internally he is fixed up. He is undisturbed. So with the changes of gross material body also, a person situated in a spiritual platform, he does not get affected because he knows very well that I am not this body. Although he takes care of the body completely, as much as a materialistic person who is absorbed in the body takes care, a devotee may also similarly take care of his body. So apparently, externally, it may appear that both are situated on the same platform, but actually it is not so. And this applies for the subtle body also. Sometimes when the subtle body means mind is subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false conception, ego, specifically mind. So when the subtle body, this mind also gets affected because of some disturbances. So at that time also, Dhira, who understands that I am not this body, I have nothing to do with this gross body or this subtle body mind. So even if the mind sometimes becomes agitated because of too much material desires, because the opportunity is there, that time also he understands it very well. So this is not me, but my mind. This is not me, but my mind. And then you finally understand this is not me, but this mind, not my mind. I'm not this mind. This is the first level of understanding. The second level of understanding is I'm not my mind. This mind is also not mine. So, so then he's not affected. So let the mind become agitated. What what I have to do with this? No. My business, I know what is my business. My business is to take shelter of Krishna's holy name, shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So I'm not going to act in any way which is going to support this mind. It's not going to act in that. Mind may give proposals and desires that you do this. And all the desires, all the dictations given by mind are directed towards sense gratification. The mind always desires to fulfill the sense gratification. Mind is controller of the senses, and through senses, mind wants to derive enjoyment, bhoga, which is not actually source of enjoyment, but source of distress, pains. So, but a sober person, he does not take part in the sources of miseries, which we were discussing in the previous verse. With some or other we got off track, but in this class we can connect it. So, Nateshu Ramate, Krishna says, 5.22. Yehi samsaparsaja bhoga dukkhayo ne evate adiyantavantu kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. That an intelligent person, who is an intelligent person? A sober person, a dhira, is an intelligent person who knows very well that I have nothing to do with this gross or subtle body. So he does not take part in the sources of misery because he knows very well, although uh, apparently this mind is dictating me to do these kinds of activities, but this is not going to give happiness to me and not even to my mind. My dear mind is also not going to get the happiness from this kind of activity. But the mind thinks like this, the mind promotes like this, that no, you do this, you will enjoy. So a person who is completely in this misconception that I am this body, I am this mind. So he thinks that whatever mind wants to do, if I supply the demands of the mind, then I will become. But an intelligent person knows very well, I'm not this mind. So anyway, even if mind is going to get some kind of happiness, I'm not going to get happiness. But the intelligent person, he knows further that all these acts of sense gratification are only going to result in giving lots of misery. Not just misery, but sources of misery. Krishna is saying sources of misery. The example is that you do any kind of activity for sense gratification, you will get that one act which one does for acquiring some kind of temporary enjoyment becomes a cause of perpetual distress. Cause of perpetual distress. And whole life he has to suffer for this. The example, some of you may not be able to like this example, but these examples are given in the Bhagavatam. So we do not hesitate to give these examples. But if you really think over it, then you will understand. So it is said that a person who is inclined for sex enjoyment, so he undergoes the sexual enjoyment, and after that there is series of miserable situations. Just for one single temporary enjoyment of sex pleasure, she undergoes this, and then that person, the woman, has to bear the child, and then she has to give birth to the child, and then she has to take care of the child and maintain the child, and then after so many miserable things happen, all the things go on in series. But please do not ask me the question that this is the duty of mother and father to take care of child. Here we are discussing about the principle, how it begins. One is just impelled to get just one little bit happiness of sex pleasure, and for this, one is ending himself in getting sources of misery, multiple miserable situations. That is why it has been compared to dukkha yonaya evate, sources of misery, because it does not stop at one place. It keeps giving misery one after another, one after another. That's why adi antavantu konteya. The happiness is has beginning and end, but the miseries are a lot, one after another, one after another. That's why nateshu ramate buddha. Those who are actually intelligent, they do not desire to delight in them. Material, O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. The wise person does not delight in them. So that is a symptom of a dhira, that she does not get bewildered. Dhiras tatrana mujyati is not bewildered. So then, dhira. So does it mean that one who is dhira, or one who is a sober person, who understands this very well, that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. So I have nothing to do with the pains and pleasures of this body and mind. So does it mean that he is not affected by the desires of mind, is not affected by those pains and pleasures? No, the experience may be there, because in the next verse, Krishna then says, Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkada agamapayino anityastam titikshasva bharata. So as long as the one is situated within this material body and one is having these material senses, so because of the senses, when senses come in contact with material objects of the senses, matra is spursa. Spursa means touch. Matra means when the senses and sense objects come in touch with each other. So that is sensory perception. So this sensory perception is there, and because of this sensory perception, the person, even one who is self-realized, who is situated within this material body, so he also has the experience. See the Ushna Sukha Dukkha, winter and summer, just like a self-realized soul, one who is self-realized, liberated personality. So when he is also living in this material world, so when there is cold, so that, does it mean that he is not experiencing cold? No, he experiences the cold and he experiences the summer season also. Similarly, Sukha and Dukkha, whatever pains and pleasures with regards to this material body and mind comes, he can experience. He can experience it, but he is not bewildered because of being situated in perfect knowledge, in perfect spiritual knowledge. He is not bewildered about it. Just like I gave the example of two persons sitting in the auto rickshaw. So both of them, they experience when there is so much honking, so much noise is going on. So both of them are experiencing. But one gets affected and one is not affected. So it's not that one is not able to experience. Both of them are experiencing. But because of being situated in the spiritual knowledge, it's not affected. It's just example, just an example. And similarly, just to connect it with this material body. Similarly, we are sitting within this vehicle of material body. So I am also within this material body. You are also within this material body. And a pure devotee, he is also within this vehicle of material body. But we get affected, but he does not get affected. That's why when at one point of time, when Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, so in the night he was translating Bhagavatam. So midnight he called the temple manager, president. He said something. He asked about some work, some service. So he said he could not answer. Prabhupada said, "Then what are you doing?" He said, "I'm sleeping. I'm taking rest." "Why are you taking rest?" "Because whole day I was working. I got tired and I was taking rest." Prabhupada said, "I also worked whole day, but I'm not sleeping. So that devotee said, Prabhupada, you are a Mahabhagavat pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada said, who is stopping you to become a pure devotee? You also become. Who is stopping you? Is anyone stopping you? That you should not become a pure devotee? You should not act like a pure devotee? So elsewhere, Srila Prabhupada said, uh, I always try to keep myself in a spiritual plan. That means, while living in this material world, externally situations may appear which may disturb us. But if you keep yourself in a spiritual platform, and how to keep yourself in a spiritual platform? Very simple, the very simple method. What is that? You just remember the verses of Bhagavad Gita. You just know that you are not this body. And the second thing, you belong to the Supreme Lord Krishna. You belong to Krishna, so you have already a master, a pati. Just like in Vedic time, a wife, of course, in today's scenario, modern, this example cannot be given. That's why I'm saying in Vedic time, a Vedic husband and a Vedic wife, pati and patni, not husband and wife actually. Marriage is not vivaha, and sadi is not vivaha. Marriage is contract, and sadi is party. But vivaha is actually bandhan. Bandhan is not in the sense that you become you are bound and you are like a slave. That is a misunderstanding. Bandhan means now you are united with heart-to-heart connection. So you cannot think of anyone else. That is actually vivah. So that's why pati vrata patni, sati, known as sati, chaste woman. The chaste woman, she cannot think of anyone else. Even if there is opportunity for meeting with somebody else other than her wife, her husband, but she cannot think of anyone else. That is because she knows very well that I have got my master. My master is there. She puts the sindoor, and the meaning is that I have got my master. Please keep safe distance. So similarly, a devotee is like a Vedic wife. Vedic wife. Krishna is our eternal master, pati, protector, or a spiritual master on behalf of Krishna. A spiritual master is Krishna's representative. So when a devotee, a disciple, especially those who get initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, so it's like getting married, not married. It's like a vivah, vivah. So the relationship is exactly like husband and wife. A spiritual master and a disciple, the relationship is like husband and wife. So wife, just like a wife, cannot think of anything, cannot do anything other than following the instructions of the husband in Vedic time. Similarly, a disciple uh, cannot act in any other way which the spiritual master doesn't desire. So as soon as any opportunity uh, to act in any manner comes in front of a devotee or a disciple, he immediately analyzes, is it sanctioned by my pati, my spiritual master, my master, or the Supreme Lord Krishna? Will he sanction it? So if not, he is not willing to do it. So if one can situate oneself in that platform, if one can give his heart to a bona fide spiritual master or the Supreme Lord Krishna, to give our heart to Krishna, it is little difficult because we have our connection is not actually lost, but it is covered. So it is difficult to establish connection directly with the Supreme Lord Krishna. That's why there is a role of a spiritual master, a pure devotee, with whom we can actually contact. We can have some reciprocation. That's why it is very much required that one must get associated with a pure devotee, a spiritual master, if one wants to advance in Krishna consciousness. Because if somebody is very fortunate, if he can have a pure devotee, spiritual master, then he can develop that relationship that my spiritual master doesn't want me to act like this. So how can I act like this? He has given his heart. That is the meaning of giving the heart. So such kind of person, even in most uh, unfavorable situation also, he is not disturbed. And if sometimes he gets into some kind of situations where he finds himself that he is getting weak or he may get deviated, immediately he runs away from that situation. That is anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjana. He immediately rejects those situations which are unfavorable for his spiritual advancement, and he accepts those situations which are favorable for his spiritual advancement, because he knows that I cannot go against the will of my spiritual master, or I cannot go against the will of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So that's why he is able to matra spasat pasuk sitosh sukha dukkha agma payano anityas atam sitiksha bharata. He is able to tolerate all the dualities, difficulties. So Krishna is saying, and one must, they arise from sense perception, ocean of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. That is the meaning of tolerating the dualities of life without getting disturbed. So when one is able to situate oneself in this spiritual knowledge that I am not this body, and then he is able to properly tolerate the dualities, knowing well that he he does not belong to this material existence, so he is able to tolerate, then such a person becomes actually Hira, a sober person. And then he becomes eligible for complete liberation. Srila Prabhupada is writing very wonderful purport. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. That is the bare minimum qualification, eligibility for getting liberated from this material existence. One who is steady in his determination and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness. Happiness also. One has to tolerate happiness also and distress also, because time to time the opportunities for sense enjoyment will keep coming, and one has to save himself from such kind of opportunities also. And when the distresses come, then also he has to go on executing his eternal business, that is taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. In the Varnashram institution, Sri Prabhupada is giving very wonderful example. In the Varnashram institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order, sannyas, is a painstaking situation, especially if somebody is a householder. For him especially, it's a very painstaking situation. It's not very easy to take sannyas, renounce family life if one has entered into it. For a brahmachari, it is quite possible, easy, because he has not attached himself to any kind of object, property, or any kind of pupil, wife, no children. But for householder, it's very difficult. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyas order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere, even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife, as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyas and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. One cannot go on with the business of sense gratification and at the same time expect to get liberated from this material existence. That's not possible. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed from his personal example at the age of 24, when his wife was just 16 years old, and his old mother, no one else to took care. His elder brother, Vishwarupa, who already took sannyas, never came back. And his father, Jagannath Mishra, he departed from this world. But when he took sannyas, he never came back to Maya. And he never met his wife. 2-3 times he met his mother, because meeting with mother is allowed even after taking sannyas. But he never stayed, he never went back. So that's quite difficult for a person who has accepted a householder life. It's difficult for them. But one who is actually serious, he is ready to give up all kinds of attachments. So similarly, anyone who is serious, so we are not telling you to take sannyas. Don't misunderstand. The example has been given. This is the example for a person who is preparing to take sannyas, how much serious he should be, how much determined he should be. That example has been taken. For us, if we are serious about making a spiritual advancement, then whatever obstacles are there in our journey towards the Supreme Lord, in the form of attachments for eating and sleeping, waiting, defending, these four things. So one should become determined to give up those attachments. So this is the way. Just like one has to give up all the 4 pillars of sinful activities. No meat eating. Absolutely no meat eating means including eggs and onion garlics. No intoxication, including tea and coffee and chocolates. And no gambling, including share market. That is also a form of gambling. And no illicit sex, including free mixing with boys and girls, and including watching pornography and using artificial means. So all these things are included within these 4 regulative principles. So one who actually is serious to make his life sublime, to make a spiritual advancement, she is prepared to give up all those attachments, even though in the beginning it may be difficult, or it may be difficult to fully overcome all those attachments. But one who is very sincere, he does not hesitate to put endeavor to become free from these attachments. And because of his sincerity, sincere desire, Krishna helps him to become free from all these attachments. रुको, एक मिनट, आप आ जाए. Okay, so with this we'll stop. Thank you very much. Time is up. Time is going to over. So we'll take question answer tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Chocolate also, yes, chocolate also. Because chocolate contains a little amount of intoxication. That's why it is prohibited.